In the lsit to handstand, of course you start in an lsit. So to do this with clean form, a strict lsit, you're gonna do this by contracting your quads, pointing your toes, and acting as if you're on a knee extension machine in the gym. You know, when you extend your knee outwards, you're gonna do that, contract your quads, point your toes. This is gonna keep your legs straight. Before training this skill, you should be able to hold a normal lsit for at least 5 to 8 seconds. And you don't need a super long lsit because you're gonna be training the lsit, the handstand press, and the handstand all in one skill. So you're gonna gain insane strength, so you definitely wanna carry on with this method. And the same goes for the handstand. You wanna make sure you've got at least 8 to 10 second handstand. The more the better for the handstand though, because it's a balance skill, and I can't tell you how many people have got the strength for this skill, but not the balance. So make sure your handstand is decent. To start the transition, you start leaning forward and bending your arms under control, so your shoulders start going towards the floor until your arms reach 90 degrees. You then allow your legs to pass through behind you until you reach a bent arm tuck planche with your hips slightly high. You want to make sure you don't lean forward and go less than 90 degrees between your forearm and upper arm, because this is going to make it incredibly hard to press up because of the increased range of motion you'll have to go through. From this bent arm tuck planche position, you can extend your legs so you're in a bent arm handstand and press up from there to the handstand, or you can stack your hips over your shoulders as you lean and press down into the bars to press up into the handstand and complete the movement. So this is what a lot of other tutorials won't tell you. When you press up into that handstand, make sure it's not too quick. Make sure it's slightly controlled, because if it's too quick, you're gonna allow your feet to go in front of you, and that's gonna set you off balance. So as soon as you press up, you don't catch the handstand, and that doesn't count. So make sure you press up slow and controlled, and that's gonna get you the strict straight handstand. Open up your shoulders by trying to bring your arms to your ears, and that's gonna help straighten out your handstand. So now we know how to get a clean lsit to handstand press, but where do we start if we wanna start gaining this strength? Well, we start with the bent arm support hold. To do this, start with your hands are parallel, shoulder width apart in a push-up position. You're then gonna step forward, bringing your hips up to stack above your shoulders into a pike push-up position. Then you're gonna bend your arms and start leaning your shoulders forward, so your head should be making a triangle shape compared to your hands. You then wanna bend your arms until they hit 90 degrees. Make sure they don't go less than 90 degrees, because you don't wanna be training a range of motion that's a little deeper and a little harder to achieve. We wanna be training the range of motion that we want to achieve in the skill, and we wanna get better at, which is 90 degrees. That's gonna be the best angle to press from and the easiest angle to press from. To do this, record yourself every set to make sure you're hitting the right angle. If this is super easy, go to an elevated bent arm support hold. So just put your feet up onto something and do the exact same thing. Hips over shoulders, bend your arms forward, make a triangle with your hands and your head, and then bend your arms to 90 degrees. If that's super easy as well, you get good at that, then what you can try and do is lean forward and try and lift your legs off the floor a little bit. So just elevate the feet so you're floating for a second. This is really gonna help with the press and get used to the transition. You wanna be able to hold either of these progressions for at least 10 seconds before moving on. Now that we're really good and really strong with the bottom of the movement, we're gonna work more on the transition with the lsit to bent arm tuck planche. So like I said, this is gonna train the transition. So we're gonna go from an lsit, tuck the knees in into a ball, bring the knees behind us, use the shoulder strength, bend the arms, press down into the bars and try and elevate the hips as high as you can. So we're going into a kind of piked tuck planche with bent arms, and then you're gonna bring it back into the transition and back into the lsit, and hold this and then do this for reps. We want to train this with consecutive reps. Practice this until you can do 8 to 10 reps consecutively. So now we're gonna get even closer to pressing up into the handstand, but it's not gonna be too much harder. It's just gonna be a small little step, so it's gonna be easy to progress to. So to do this, we're gonna do the lsit to bent arm tuck handstand. So to do this, do the lsit again, back into your bent arm tuck planche with the piked hips, what you've been training for 8 to 10 reps, and then you're just gonna use the momentum and a bit more strength that you've gained to press the hips a little bit higher above the hands. So your hands and the hips and the shoulders are gonna be stacked up above one another. Even extend your legs out quickly here, so you're in a bent arm handstand for a second, then bring them back in, and then you're gonna go back down through the transition under control into the lsit again. And now again, we wanna do this for consecutive reps. Again, 8 to 10 reps is gonna be really good, but even just 6 to 8 is gonna be great. So at this point, we're gonna be so close to the lsit to handstand press. All we need to do is increase our vertical pushing strength slightly, so we can do this using weights. So you can do Arnold press, shoulder press, military press, anything with weights like that, that goes from a bent arm to a straight arm overhead. That's gonna be good. And you can do this with bodyweight training as well. So all the handstand push-up progressions. So you can do pike push-ups, elevated pike push-ups, handstand push-ups against the wall. These are all gonna be great for increasing your vertical pushing strength. That's because the final part of the movement is just half a handstand push-up. So any vertical pushing strength you can gain is gonna help you loads. And after all this, you're still struggling with the lsit to handstand press. It hasn't been working for you in the past. Then try lsit to handstand press negatives. Another hack to learning the lsit to handstand press is to use parallettes. Parallettes are going to raise your hands off the floor, so it's going to be easier to get into the lsit and to pass your legs through. It's going to make the whole skill easier. So I made a full guide on parallettes, what ones are there, the different materials you can buy, what ones are good, which ones are not, and what you should look for in parallettes. So check out that full guide to buy some parallettes, and it's going to help you out get this skill a lot quicker.